Now, of course, this show is all about floating. But in this episode 3, we find ourselves sinking deeper and deeper into the Stephen King universe. Ooh, can you feel it? I know some of you are getting the chills because I'm getting the DMs and the tweets. It's starting to feel like Stephen King's Avengers. I mean, I don't know about you, but I thought it was absolutely thrilling to see this crossover between The Shining and It. Two of my I think really some of the best Stephen King storytelling. It's interesting. Some of you said that I stopped watching Castle Rock over on Hulu, which kind of did the same thing. But some of you said that season 2 kind of followed the Misery story and brought that into the mix. And you said that went quite well. So we'll see if Welcome to Derry has a little bit of better luck in attracting and keeping an audience. Maybe the Pennywise factor will help. And it turns out that we're not the only ones who know the lore, right? Because the military, we find out, knows about Pennywise's 27-year cycle. They're a little further ahead of the game than we thought, as it's revealed that they know exactly what they dug up last episode. They know about the Bradley gang and what happened to them, and potentially, well, who or what is responsible? Is this weapon they're looking for a who or a what? They start to have a little bit of a disagreement about that this episode, and we're going to talk about that. All right, so something else that I really liked about this episode is that different cultures are being brought into the mix, right? With the focus on old world cultures that embrace the otherworldly instead of dismiss it. In this episode, we have the Native Americans, the Black community, and the Latino community, who are all willing, at least some of them, to believe in what they can't necessarily see. Right? But as for the folks who need a bit more convincing, enter once legendary actress Madeleine Stowe. That's right, once legendary. Back in the day, for like a solid amount of time, Madeleine Stowe was hot stuff in Hollywood. She was the leading lady. But she didn't last very long. You know, this is why they made the documentary Searching for Deborah Winger, to comment on the fact that actresses in Hollywood don't have the same longevity that their male counterparts do, which is why Nicole Kidman is such a queen, right? Because she's not only still working, but working a lot. Although I have to say, people on a side note have pointed out that it's television and then cable and now streaming, which have really kind of given a lifeline to actresses as they get older. And what do you know? Nicole Kidman does a lot of work on the small screen, right? Madeleine Stowe's trying. She had that network show a couple of years ago, which also gave us it's taken so she hasn't been around. Peggy, the Carter's grandkid or whatever. It's been she's hardly ever around. But yeah, that was like a kind of a hot show for a little bit. But you know, Madeleine Stowe's maybe she needs some bad wigs like Nicole Kidman has. I mean, hey. I love Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman is like, I think Nicole Kidman is very camp and that helps her. And perhaps maybe this is a great opportunity for Madeleine Stowe. Did you know who she is when she showed up? And even if you didn't, what do you think of her? All right, so she is playing the head of housekeeping at Juniper Hill, who has befriended Lily and gives her the advice that most people only believe what they can see, which inspires Lily to have the idea that, hey, let's try and capture some of this crazy stuff on film. You know who else gives advice to kids in Derry? Maturin. Yes, the clown versus turtle theme continues. Did you see that fair game back in 1908? Clowns and turtles, my friend. So is Madeleine Stowe's character, Maturin, in human form, just as Pennywise is It, right? After all, in the original novel, Maturin gives young Bill advice on how to defeat It, just as Madeleine Stowe is giving Lily advice here. And there's even more evidence this might be Maturin, right? For an adult in Derry, Stowe's housekeeper is surprisingly willing to listen to a kid, right? Everyone else is dismissing them. All the other people in Derry, or all the other adults in Derry, are kind of weird. Although Stowe's character is a little weird and she seems overly nice and overly attentive. But it's interesting. It's definitely a clear, distinct choice that the show is making with this character. And also, what does she do besides give Lily that advice? She makes sure Lily is wearing her charm bracelet, which of course features a turtle charm, which we believe might be protecting Lily. She was protected in the theater. The other kids weren't. Might have been the bracelet. And that advice from the turtle, duck and cover. However, the housekeeper also mentions her father, right? I keep saying housekeeper because we don't yet know her name. The plot thickens. So she says she had a father or has a father, and the advice he gave was life is about the journey. But she adds, she feels it's who you take that journey with. So maybe her father's Maturin? We'll have to wait and find out what happens with this character. There's certainly more to be revealed. But she has been the only thing that has made Juniper Hill bearable for Lily. And the doctor feels that Lily might need to come back. You might need to up her dosage, try something a little more serious. Whew, that's the last thing you want to hear from a 1960s mental institution. And that keeps Juniper Hill as a mighty strong reason for these kids not to tell any other adults about what they're seeing, for fear this mental asylum might become their new hangout. And they do get a picture, multiple pictures in the cemetery. Oh, I was so nervous when they were developing that film. I was like, did we get anything? Come on, guys. That statue, by the way, the cemetery sequence was very cool. A lot of cool sequences this episode. I'm glad they're keeping, that's an important part of hopefully keeping audiences tuning in every week. But when that statue first comes to life and smiles, was that Jesus? My goodness, Pennywise, is nothing sacred? That was incredible, though. So good. And they don't just get photos of undead versions of Teddy, Phil, and Susie. I know some of you, I saw some people online saying, Phil, he didn't turn into a zombie on that cereal box. Maybe he's still alive. And you don't totally see his ghost here either. Boy, that Pennywise, he's not just mean to kids on this show, but to kids at heart in real life. I'm sorry. But they also get a picture of a clown. It doesn't totally look like a clown to me. So I'm glad that Will said that it was a clown. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it was creepy though. The eyes for me is what stood out the most. That was great. What a great spooky photo, right? And this isn't our only interaction with it. I know a lot of you are itching to see that clown, right? He's getting closer and closer. And people are getting closer to him. Right? People are coming at him from all sides, not just these pesky kids on their bikes. By the way, Rich, of course, has them do this ritual that he kind of pieces together from what he's seen family members vaguely do from when he was much younger in the past. He's so adorable. When he turns to Will and he's like, it's hard making new friends. Instantly forgave him. He was just so adorable. Oh, so cute. But there's also a powerful adult in play, right? Dick Hallorann, again, from The Shining. I love The Shining again. It's my favorite scary movie, and I love this actor. So this is just like, I'm having such a good time here. Using an artifact, the slingshot that's interacted with it before. I'm trying to decide to call it it or Pennywise. Pennywise is its form of choice. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But it technically is it, and Pennywise is just one of the guises it takes on. But it's everyone's favorite guise, and it's its favorite guise as well. But it's making people think that they're not seeing the entity when they are, when it shapeshifts into other things. So should I call it it or Pennywise? What do you think? All right. Pennywise is more fun. And it's a little confusing, right? You're like, are you saying it or it? Okay, anyway. The slingshot, we're going to talk about that too. But Dick is able to connect with it through his psychic abilities. And through his vision, he sees its lair, which we've also seen from the previous films. But this time, Pennywise, when his wagon opens, or trailer, he doesn't do a dance this time because he recognizes a threat when he sees it. He didn't invite Dick Hallorann in here, whereas he'd wanted the Losers Club to come see him. Who are you? Ooh, so good. I was like, show some respect, Pennywise. That's Dick Hallorann from The Shining. I'm excited to see you guys. Let them fight. Pennywise even tries to get Dick Hallorann, though, to kill himself by tricking him into jumping out of the airplane by using his grandmother. All right, Dick Hallorann's grandmother. For those of you who know your Stephen King, you know that his grandmother also had psychic abilities and was Dick's closest confidant when he was growing up. I'm wondering if this maybe isn't a joint operation, where maybe Dick Hallorann's grandmother is reaching out to him and does warn him to get out of there, but then Pennywise uses that warning to his advantage and controls Dick Hallorann's vision to make the exit to the lair the exit to the plane. Very interesting. I'm interested to keep exploring this. However, it turns out that Pennywise, should I say that maybe? But it turns out that Pennywise isn't the only one who can dig around in your brain. Yup, Dick Hallorann can root around in your mind. I mean, we know from The Shining that he can talk to people. Well, in The Shining, he could only talk to someone else who had the shine, and they have like psychic conversations, right? But he can go around and dig around just like Professor Xavier, etc. I also love the X-Men, as you know. But yeah, so he can dig around in a regular person's mind. But when he does it, you feel it, right? Oh, maybe he needs to work on it a little bit more. But Leroy Hanlon has said he's only felt that twice in his life, when he was attacked in episode 1, and when Dick Hallorann came over for dinner and then asked him about his son, Leroy had not mentioned. Ooh, I love it. Dick Hallorann's a little overconfident in his ability. I like that he uses his abilities in social situations, right? I'm like, just ask him about his family, man. And I guess it shows that it's like second nature. Like, Dick Hallorann's always operating on both levels, right? The regular and the psychic. I thought it was showing a cool use of powers. I've watched and read a lot of X-Men content, and I don't believe I've ever seen them use their abilities socially before. But yes, it was 2 other dudes. Who knows who it was? Doesn't matter. But the one who was serious was Dick Hallorann, and he was conducting General Shaw's test to see if Leroy Hanlon, again, due to that accident he had in the military and the brain injury he suffered, truly now had no fear. Dick Hallorann says, "Oh, it is true." He said, "You were staring down the barrel of a gun, and you weren't afraid at all." And then he says that makes Leroy a force to be reckoned with. And Dick, that's why he admits right away that it was him. He's like, "Yeah, you got me," because Dick doesn't want to fight a man like that. But he adds he would like to fight alongside a man like that. Ooh, Dick Hallorann has it all. A way with words, psychic abilities, and also, this is really crucial, street smarts. Because he also realizes that Pennywise is a bigger threat than they realized. Here's another amazing line that Dick Hallorann has this episode. General Shaw says, "You saw it?" And Dick Hallorann responds, "More like it saw me." Neither one of them understands how they're using it. They're like, "Oh, it's like, do you know my name?" All right. So anyway, that's actually, I don't think it's name, right? It's just an entity. So you call it because you don't know what to call it, I think. But and I like the double meaning of "it saw me." Like, it saw Dick Hallorann, it saw his history with his grandmother, but also it simply saw him, and that Dick Hallorann had been able to enter Pennywise's lair, right? Which means that Hallorann and the military have now lost the element of surprise. Pennywise knows they're after him, or at least that someone is. Also, they've now learned that this isn't some inanimate object that creates fear. It's sentient. And that also makes it much more dangerous. Dick Hallorann's like, "Maybe we should just leave this thing alone, man." And General Shaw's like, "I want my weapon." By the way, he said, "Can I do anything for you?" So you can continue to put your life on the line for my mission. And I think Dick Hallorann maybe could have asked for even more. But this was the 1960s. So he says, "You know what? I think he also wants to look really great in front of his fellow soldiers who've been saying, 'Dude, use your special privileges to get us a decent place to hang out.'" And that's exactly what Dick Hallorann asks for. Oh, remember I told you the Black Spot Club, that military club, is an iconic location and incident in Derry history, and it's getting closer and closer. But yes, General Shaw not only wants this weapon, but it turns out, as we discover, he has a history with it. This episode starts in 1908, which again, if you know your Pennywise feeding cycles, was the one before 1935. It's crazy. 1908 seems so far away, but someone who was a child then is around in 1962. I think that's interesting. But yes, this is General Shaw as a kid. 12, it's always 12. And he was in Derry because his father, remember, he says he comes from a military family. His father was stationed there back then. That has got to be the carnival where Bob Gray was a clown when he came to Derry and ran into it and inspired it to take on the Pennywise persona. I think it might have been inspired by the carnival overall because it saw how much the carnival both attracted and scared kids. That even though it scared them, they couldn't stay away. It's just the right combination that it is looking for. I love that. By the way, the carnival barker was really well cast. He did a great job. I really liked him. It's interesting. I guess the clown, I'll be interested to see specifically why, because there's a lot of things that he could have chosen from that, he chose a very scary looking, kind of somewhat threatening, off-putting clown. Maybe you would think but I guess the carnival barker wouldn't scare you. Again, it's just that perfect mix, right? Of like happy, scary. And I think that the design of Pennywise actually captures that. Is that Pennywise? Or Bob Gray? No, but it's a female clown, but the similarities, it's not exactly Pennywise, but the makeup, the costume, even the red balloons, that can't be a coincidence. So maybe it's Bob Gray's daughter, right? I'll be curious to see. I'll be curious to see if we explore this more and what happens. I hope the show doesn't make the mistake. It was like, we'll explore that down the line in season 3, and maybe we don't get one. Heed alien Earth's fate. All right. They have not said they've canceled the show, but they still haven't mentioned season 2. All right, and the carnival certainly scares young General Shaw with it using this. I think the scary man that he runs into in that show, right, was real, but that memory then gets burned into the young Shaw's head, his mind, and then it plucks it out to scare him in the woods. That's my theory. I think that's what. At first, I thought it was it even in the carnival, but no, I think that's something that it uses against young Shaw. That was a great sequence. What a great way to start the episode, right? I loved how it popped out from behind the trees and then was getting closer and closer. I wonder if Gladys was in those woods as well. Very similar. But then when it started to run after Francis, I love that, especially as its stride and therefore speed increased. I love it when it gets much bigger and gangly and weird. He does that a couple of times, and I think it's very effective. I'm like, I love what you're doing, baby. It's scaring the crap out of me. And Shaw he survives. He survives because he made friends with a pretty Native American girl. I loved this girl, who saves him with that slingshot was very interesting. It had been it probably is just, no wonder it's radiating so much psychic energy. It was one at the carnival with those games that we saw that had turtles and clowns, right? That was the prize at that very game, that carnival that gave birth to it/Pennywise. And then, a child got it and gave it to another 12-year-old who he had feelings for. He was, young love. And then she used it to save him. And then, she gave it back to him. And so it's just so much radiating off of that. I'm not surprised. By the way, when she used the slingshot to wound it, did you see the blood float? I loved it. And then she also, because of her being a part of this tribe, she knows a lot about Derry and the weird stuff going on there. She tells Shaw that when his father, at the end of the summer, when his father is told to go to another base, she says, you're going to forget Derry and you're going to forget me. And sure enough, he does. But he remembers her when she files an inquiry as to what the military is doing, and he goes to see her, and we discover it's Secondhand Rose. The store, which I pointed out to you before, has all this history in it as well. Great casting on the girl and adult Rose. I loved it. I thought that was a great reveal. So it turns out she's more than just a business owner in Derry. Those Native American teenagers, they report to her. And they're all worried about what the military is looking for and if they're going to maybe mess with a force that this tribe managed to contain a long time ago. Again, if you know your it mythology. What other important things happened this episode? Well, I got 2 more things I want to highlight. First, Chief Bowers says another witness has come forward that might not be able to place Hank at the movie theater, but can confirm that he was downtown that night, not asleep at home, as he has claimed and his mother has confirmed. I think his mother didn't go in and check on him. He's an adult, thank you very much. She thought he was sleeping in there, but he snuck out because he doesn't deny it, but he won't say what he was doing and where. So what could it possibly be that he would not be willing to say it, even though he's facing a very gruesome kitty murder charge? Whew! Bauer says he better decide quick if he wants to come clean, because very soon they're going to be sending him to a prison called Shawshank. Oh, here we go. Another key location in the Stephen King universe. I love that they've brought that in. That being, of course, another iconic, scary in the way of real world horrors, but not, Shawshank isn't like, it's not like another worldly Stephen King story, but it's certainly, again, one of his most famous. I just hearing Shawshank made me very happy. And then both Rich and Will have crushes. By the way, that was Lily's mother working at the diner. Don't they have kid-sized meals at that diner? All right. So anyway, Rich has a crush on Marge, as we already know, and Will. Well, we already knew Will had a crush on Ronnie, but maybe he's starting to realize it as well. But here's the second thing that I want to point out. The show highlighted that Lily and Ronnie hold hands in the cemetery. Sure, they're both afraid, but who you reach out to when you're afraid is very telling. Is their friendship strengthening, or perhaps it's more than a friendship? I bring this up not only because of what we see, but because Andy Muschietti cares very much about LGBTQ representation. And there's also LGBTQ representation in the original It novel, both overt, the couple that gets killed when they go to the current timeline, and then also implied. There's been some debate over, whether or not it's implied, but Andy Muschietti in his films made it canon. All right, so we'll see. We'll see what happens here, but I definitely noticed that. Did you? And what do you think it means? All right, so what did you think of this week's episode? Again, we're on episode 3 of 8. How do you like seeing the Stephen King universe come together Avengers style? And what do you think might be up with Madeleine Stowe's character? Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.